Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Are you going to go on record in front of everybody here today and say that you will not tell who ordered this, you or Mr. Goldman? Mr. Goldman, you or Mr. Schiff?
I am going to go on record and tell you that I'm not going to reveal how we conducted this investigation.
And that's the problem we have with this entire thing. Mr. Schiff said behind closed doors.
I can tell you what the importance is.
I'm done with you for right now.
I am done with you. I am done with you. That is impeachment stuff that is going on forever. Apparently it's 24 hours, 7 days a week, wall to wall. It's wall to wall, kids. Non-stop. They're not done. I get, like, you go through the motions. You've got to, right? Like at the end of a football game, it's 42-10. There's a minute 5 left, and you still got to go through the motions of hiking the ball, taking a knee. You got to go through the motions. That's kind of what I feel like now.
He gets to come up and grill his opposing adversary witness. I feel like, to be fair, if we were going to make this thing fair, Mr. Castor would be able to come up and grill Mr. Burke. But this isn't about being fair. It's not about due process. This is about a kangaroo system.
First of all, I just want to say something here. I've known a few kangaroos, and I don't know what they say their courts are like, but it's not very fair that they have this bias against them. That this is a kangaroo court, and kangaroo's like, we do all kinds of good stuff. You guys are not paying any attention. We have a jury of our peers, so we don't have a bunch of koala bears like judging us, right? And a sloth over there, and there's a goanna. Nope. Maybe even a Tasmanian tiger. What? Chad, you need to take this more serious. No, I don't. I know where this is going. This was exactly about what it was about, which was the battle. So you have Daniel Goldman and Mr. Berkey on one side, and the other side you have Castor, who is going out and doing what he's doing. So you have the Democrats and the Republicans. Let's see if you can guess who this guy's rooting for.
To impeach a president who 63 million people voted for over 8 lines in a call transcript is baloney.
Baloney. Of all the balonies, this one's baloney. Right? So you have that. And on the other side, you have the usual suspects doing their... I mean, it is what it is. Both sides are doing stuff. They're both going after each other. They're both trying... And this is like... For the last couple of weeks, what they've been trying to do is paint a picture and get people out there who can hopefully change their mind. So it was a little bit more important for the person who was delivering the answers rather than the person delivering the questions. Today, it's a little bit different because these are the counsel that was up there asking the questions last week to all these people. And then they turn around and they go on the other side and they have to answer questions. And that's what they've been doing all day. And they're continuing to do it. And apparently it is never going to ever, ever, ever stop.
My colleague, Mr. Castor, just said that it revolves around 8 lines in one call record. But that sorely ignores the vast amount of evidence that we collected of a months-long scheme directed by the president.
Now, I've said all along what's in that call, because if it's just based on what we've seen in the call, I mean, we move on with our lives. But it's all of the other stuff leading up to that moment that this is a part of, right, that they're trying to do. And we're hearing, and I'm hearing from my sources and other people are saying, as early as Friday, we could be voting. By we, I mean them, and by them, I mean them over there, on articles of impeachment. We could, within the next 48 hours, have these things drawn up. Then the debate will happen at maybe Thursday, Friday. They could potentially have a vote for articles of impeachment. We know where that's going to go, but there are some questions out there because you do have some moderates out there who are saying, okay, we're moving here. It's going at a rapid speed. We get that. But you guys are worried about keeping the House and the Senate. And other people are worried about keeping their positions in the House and the Senate, and some of them are on the blue side, if you will, but many people voted for Trump in their area, and they're worried about losing their position. So I think what they're looking for is, can you stay, you can go deep, right? And why? And very, you can go shallow and deep, wide, or you can go deep and straight and very narrow. And you got to choose. And I think they're going to go really wide. And I think that's part of the problem that people are worried about who are moderates is you're going to throw so many things at it, and you're still trying to find a certain group of people that are going to look up and say, ooh, look at all that you're doing. You're throwing all kinds of crap out here. It started out as Ukraine. Now you're putting some more Mueller stuff in there. You got a few other things. All of a sudden, it feels like, once again, you're just on the hunt to get rid of this guy. And so that's why we're not paying attention. That's why you've made this thing so absolutely ridiculously political. So we'll see what Nadler and everybody comes up with, but it's not going anywhere. And we will have something by the end of the week. I'm assuming that they'll at least debate. And because next week, their 19th is the Democratic debate. The 20th, and most people are going to be gone on the 20th, but the 20th will be their last day before their recess, and that's also when the government would potentially run out of money and shut down, right? And they got to kick it forward because we don't have a budget. As usual, we CRs, we continue a resolution, kick them forward. So they're going to have to come up with something here sooner rather than later. So we'll see what they're going to come up with and if they're going to get it done this week. And then when Mitch will roll it out, if he's going to do it, if he'll make an announcement next week or say, look, I'm going to go over everything and I'll sit down with Chuck and we'll get some stuff sorted out and we'll make an announcement, when we get back from recess. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me with all that going on. The IG report dropped.
The Justice Department Inspector General's report found some mistakes at the outset of the FBI's Russia investigation, though overall there's no finding the investigation started improperly. ABC News spoke exclusively with FBI Director Christopher Wray.
It's important for the American people to know that when the FBI opens an investigation, it does so with proper predication, with proper authorization, based on the law and the facts and nothing else.
The Inspector General's report is the result of almost 2 years' worth of work.
Now, both sides are doing what they're doing, claiming, victory in these situations, right?
When Republicans in the Senate repeat the falsehood invented by Putin's intelligence services that Ukraine interfered in the 2016 elections, it helps deflect blame from Putin and drives a wedge between the United States and Ukraine, one of Putin's top goals.
Trump's coming out because I think both sides kind of got what they were hoping for.
It is incredible. Far worse than I would have ever thought possible. And it's an embarrassment to our country. It's dishonest.
We should have a little pause for concern here. A lot of what was in here wasn't great for the FBI. I mean, if you look, it's 435 pages. Nobody's reading 435 pages except for people who this is their jobs. This is their JOBs, right? And you look at this and was there bias? That's the big thing. Was there bias? How did they go and get some of these things? They essentially thought, and this is their saying, they believe that the Russians and Trump were colluding, and we found out that none of that stuff was happening. But they went and essentially tapped and spied on them to see if any of this stuff was going on. Now, do you believe that or not? Well, no, I believe they were doing the real thing, and then nothing got back to anybody else in anybody else's campaign, and it was above board. But they showed that the FBI made some mistakes along the way. They did some silly stuff, and they did. They had some issues. But both sides are claiming victory. Both sides are absolutely claiming their portion of victory here. And it's funny because I was talking to somebody here who hates the Patriots earlier today. The Patriots lost yesterday. And the Patriots now are caught up in another scandal of, and I don't know if you saw this, producer Phil, where they were filming supposedly one of their scouts who happened to be scouting their next opponent, the Bengals. And it was an ugly situation, and the NFL apparently looked at it and stuff, but it was supposedly a misunderstanding.
Now, what we know is that the Bengals saw somebody in a Patriots, golf shirt or whatever, some kind of Patriots logo on his clothes with a video camera, and said, well, this is no good. They might be shooting our sideline. We got to take a look at this. So they've confiscated the video. They've sent it to the league for investigation. What we're hearing is that it's a misunderstanding that the Patriots, they're credentialed to the Browns. Maybe they should have alerted the Bengals. But obviously, eyebrows go up because in 2007, right, the Patriots were found guilty of filming the Jets sideline from an illegal location. They were docked a first-round draft pick, so it harkens back to that. There's no indication that that's what's going on here based on what we're learning right now.
But it's the Bengals, so let's be real. They're just awful. But people automatically are guilty. And it's the same thing here. You could say that nothing got back to anybody else, that this wasn't obtained. But there's a group of people, and a large group of people that out there, 62 million people plus, who say, well, hold on a second. You guys are spying on a campaign that your Secretary of State, who was running against him for president. I mean, there's a lot of things here where people are now pointing, we should be worried because these FISA warrants, a lot of this stuff, it's a little murky. It's a little uncomfortable. So just like the Patriots right there, where people are like, oh, yeah, you guys are guilty. They said, look, we were doing a documentary on our entire staff and our scouting and the whole 9 yards, and that's what it was. But after certain issues have cropped their heads up in the past, people look around and say, well, hold on a second. How do I know that to be true? I mean, you guys did do it before, and let's be real. The FBI has been caught a few times with their pants down, and there's some questions to be asked there. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from all of you. Hope you had a good weekend. I had a fairly okay weekend, but for those of you who listen to the show, and I talked about a little bit earlier that my great cat, who I love dearly, he's only about a year and a half old, Three-Adore we called him, the cat with three legs, passed away unexpectedly this weekend out of nowhere. And we get a lot of people texting me and tweeting at me and stuff, and I appreciate that very much because he was the family loved him, and in particular the little dog Red, absolutely it's like his only friend, and it was just it's a sad thing to when something like that happens because he seemed like he was supposed to go to the doctor's. He's been sick, but it was just weird how fast it went. But I appreciate all the texts and the warm wishes because he's great. I mean, I love him. And Winston loved him, too. Winston always thought he was a walking around banana, but he loved him, and they would play and stuff. And it was just a sad situation, how fast something like that can happen. Plus, he cost a ton of money because I spent a bunch of money having his leg amputated. Cat adopted us, and I fell in love with the cat. Jeez. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. Did you see the guy that came up the other day, the Amazon guy delivering package, and somebody left some snacks out for him, and boom, there they were. The guy was dancing around and stuff. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you can catch on Blink, as well as the bad guys and all the other fun stuff. Blink camera systems are amazing, and now is the time to get. They got a huge, huge discount going on right now, 25% off right now through December 24th on Blink cameras and systems, plus a free Amazon Echo with the purchase of any system while supplies last, and they're amazing. Right, so you set them up. They're wire-free. It takes really no time at all. And a couple AA batteries. You get them all set up, and then you download the app. And then, hey, away you go. Somebody comes up. Maybe they're going to deliver a package. You don't want it to be out in front. You want it to put around the side or something like that. Hey, you left the garage open. Just go around, put it in there. You could just tell them because they got a two-way talk features. These XT2 cameras are motion-activated. They're amazing. You will love them. And again, order fast. Just in time for the holidays plus all of the year, and then the more year. And you see what I'm going. No subscriptions, no contracts. You will love them. The Blink XT2 camera security systems are the perfect gift for everyone on the nice list to stop people on the naughty list from doing bad things. Save big time now, 25% through December 24th. Plus, get a free Amazon Echo with the purchase of any system while supplies last. Visit BlinkProtect.com/sale. 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 It's the Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Tourists from Royal Caribbean's cruise ship Ovation of the Seas were visiting New Zealand's White Island when the ash and steam blew up. Deputy Police Commissioner John Timms with the latest.
Due to the current risk, emergency services are unable to access the island.
Both locals and tourists are among those currently missing.
Yeah, so small little island, an excursion. So you have, if you've ever been on a cruise, you can sign up for excursions. Producer Phil, you and I have joked about that because our excursion is everybody leaves the ship and we eat all the food we want and sit at the pool by ourselves. Yep. People do other stuff. They go on excursions. So people took an excursion to this small island. And it's a cone volcano. 70% of the volcano is under the water. And they go there, and they've had some issues. Apparently, middle of November, they reported some. So it's a 1 to 5 scale as far as eruption. And they put it between a 1 and a 2. Normally, they're just dormant. But once you start to get on that scale, and they've had a few, like, burps, if you will. Today was another burp. And now 5 are dead. More are still missing. And they don't see any life on there. And if you've seen the video, it is just frightening. Like, it's, and it was very small. It was like, you never have one of those things? That's kind of what it was. Just shows you. Just absolutely shows you. Producer Phil, remind everybody, what will nature do?
Nature will mess you up.
Mess you up. And this is one of those things where it was quick, and I don't think they saw it coming. It was 2 very quick, like, eruptions or burps, and boom, that was it. And it went about 12,000 feet in the air, 14,000 feet in the air. And when that happened, it shot ash and some rocks and a bunch of other stuff, and it just seared everything around it. So it's a tough thing. And people are asking the question, should anybody have been on that island? Why didn't people know about it? Because there was just, you can't escape. And if you remember anything from St. Helens, Mount St. Helens, and what happened there, that's it. There's nowhere to go. And how fast it moves, and once it happens. And that was, that was crazy. That video just shows you again, nature is nature. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. The never-ending story of impeachment is still going on. Where's Lamal when you need him? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The deadly attack at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola is now a terror investigation. The FBI says hundreds of federal agents are working to determine if gunman Mohammed al-Shamrani had help in carrying out his shooting spree. Authorities say the gunman's Saudi classmates are being kept on the base and cooperating with questioning. Al-Shamrani, a member of the Saudi Air Force, was in Pensacola in a program for international military personnel.
Yeah, and there's, of course, now that they're looking at this as terror, they're asking certain questions, including whether or not they all looked at videos of shootings.
Sources now tell ABC News they are investigating classmates' claims that al-Shamrani watched mass shooting videos in front of friends at his home just days before the deadly attack at Naval Airspace Pensacola. They believe it served as a way of psyching himself up. The FBI now pouring through surveillance images and cell phone video from someone that recorded it nearby directly after his deadly rampage.
Yeah, and apparently he was upset because one of the flight instructors referred to him as porn stash in front of 10 other aviation students, and it angered him and embarrassed him, and he was infuriated. So you killed 3 people because they called you porn stash. And it's not even a good porn stash. It isn't, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not a good stash. Like Gardner Minshew, he's got a porn stash. You not so much. Infuriated him, angered him. So we'll see. You know, there's all kinds of stuff flying around. Like, oh, there was a bunch of people and they've all escaped and they're looking for him. And I just sit back and just let it work itself out. Obviously, he was not a fan of America, and I think he got over here and he was probably less of a fan. And, the Saudis are supposed to be looking into this. Was he radicalized here? Was he radicalized there? What took place? Trump, what was his first thing? People are saying, hold on a second. Trump's first thing was to protect the Saudis. I don't think the Saudis would have sent somebody who was going to go out and do this, knowing the backlash that it may bring. But understand what we're dealing with here when it comes to Saudi Arabia. I want you guys to listen to this report. Understand how back-assward we think their lives are because of things like this. Again, it's their life. They can live it. It's their country. Live it how it is. That's fine. But understand there's a certain sense of, I ask ourselves the questions, better the devil you do and the devil you don't. And I understand that the geopolitical reason that we have to deal with them at times. But, think about this for a second.
Saudi women will no longer have to use a separate entrance or sit behind dividers at restaurants, according to a government statement. The change is part of Crown Prince Mohammed's sweeping social reforms in recent years to help attract investments and create business opportunities. Traditional Saudis view gender segregation as a religious requirement. Government-run schools and most public universities, however, still remain segregated.
Yeah, they couldn't see a sporting event. They can't. There's all these things that go on there. You don't realize what it's like. This is, and we're not talking about we look at Afghanistan, it's some like third world back ass country, and there's enough to talk about with Afghanistan, and we'll touch on it a little bit, but we look at it as like, okay, it's a third world living like the 6th century, and that's the way they want to live. But when you think of Saudi Arabia, while we think of 9/11, whether they want to believe it or not now, and Khashoggi and all of these things, but you also think about oil, the investments, you look at the streets, you look at the place. It is a ridiculously wealthy country, but it has its beliefs. The Wahhabism and the way that they believe in their religion. That's them. We're not, we shouldn't want to, and there's a reason that we deal with them in that world, and a lot of it has to do with Iran, because they hate Iran really, really bad, and Iran hates them, and you never know what could happen in that neck of the woods. But ladies, for you guys listening out there, could you imagine if you were separated? And it's one thing if it's a religious ceremony, right? But, but then you look here, right? We have the Amish, right? In the middle of the country. We have the Amish. Well, it's not that. They're not getting caned, and there's any. The reality is it's still very much the 1800s, right? Women sit in one area, men sit in the other. There's a lot to it. But, but Saudi Arabia is modern, and they've got oil, and they've got a lot of things, and we give in way too much, and they're trying to move away from certain things, but they're still that hard line. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's never ending.
Is he an incidental player or a central player in this scheme?
President Trump is the central player in this scheme.
There's a reason that no one has said, what did the president know and when did he know it? From the evidence that you have presented, Mr. Goldman, and the Intelligence Committee's findings, we know one thing, and one thing is clear. As it related to this scheme, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, knew everything.
That's right there. Swalwell, remember he ran for president for like 5. He's the Democrat version of Matt Gaetz. And that is Goldman, who is one of the Democrats leading counsel who questioned people last week, and now he's on the stand with the other ones. So he knew everything. He knows everything. He knew everything. Everything's there. You guys can see it right in front of us. What are we talking about? You know what's up. This is it. You're just like, all right, here we go. So it's not ending anytime soon. Again, by potentially the end of this week, we could have a vote We should have articles drawn up probably in the next, I would say, 48 to 72 hours at the latest. Then the debate will come, but they're going to want to get it done. And they're not going to want to drag it on to the middle of next week when you've got yet again another debate coming up. And you want to make sure that that focus is there because you've had some people drop out. So remember, Kamala Harris had qualified for this and she's out. And you've had some more controversy along the way. And you potentially could see two of your leaders in the clubhouse, at least through the first, 9 holes, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. I mean, and we'll see if Cory Booker lasts, but if they could all be at these hearings when it comes to, unless, Mitch McConnell wants to kill it fast, which is his prerogative. I don't think he will. I think he's going to want to see this thing through. I think he's going to want to give America the opportunity. I think he sees it too. It's like, okay, how can I make this a win for us? Trump is going to be Trump. We're going to keep him there. That's not changing. But how can I make this a win for us? What do I do to make it a win for us? How can I go out and get some political points for us? And at the same time, seen as above board and show that Adam Schiff and Nadler weren't really playing the game other than that they were playing to win. But, that, hey, I'm going to try to be as equal as possible. So we'll see what takes place with him.
For the first time since the scheme was announced back in March, a parent has been accused of cheating after her son was already in college. Karen Littlefair of Newport Beach, California, has agreed to plead guilty to a charge of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Court records said she paid scheme mastermind Rick Singer $9,000 to have someone take online classes for her son to help him graduate from Georgetown.
So wait a minute, your kid was stupid, couldn't get into college. Then when he was in college, couldn't do the work. So you had to pay somebody to do the work for him. Oh, God. So what happens to your kid? Like, so are you going to do his job for him when he gets out? You're like, hey, I graduated Georgetown. They're like, great, I saw you did really well. And they give him a job, and like, I think this kid's an idiot. What then? I'm still interested to see what takes place with Lori Loughlin and her husband, because she seems like she's going to try to do all she can. I was reading last week that she feels that the jury will be sympathetic. I think she's going to go into it. I think she's going to fight it. And I think she's going to say the pressure of being, a star and having this life and living it in front of the camera and all of these things. And the pressure to be perfect was so real. And we had to do all we can to be perfect. And I had to. I think that's where she's going to go with it. I don't think it's going to work, but I think that's what she's going to do. I think she's going to push it in that direction. Again, I don't think it'll work. I think that they're going to look at her if she does decide to do this and say, your kids probably could have got into another college. I don't buy that they stole somebody else's thing, but your kids could have got into another college. You could have done some other things. You used your wealth and your influence to get them in when they shouldn't have been in. And so we feel no pity for you, so take it somewhere else. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Several of you tweeted in and texted in about my cat, Theodore, who passed away over the weekend. I appreciate that. He was a good cat. Didn't have him that long. We got him less than a year ago. He decided to adopt us, and he just was the best cat in the world. And, like, we had him, and we looked for whoever. We're like, this cat's too amazing to not be somebody's. And sure enough, we looked around and nobody came forward. And we're like, he's got to be chipped. And then he got hurt. Like a week after we said, well, we're going to keep him, he got shot. He got out and somebody shot him and he ended up losing his legs. And I would have paid anything to save the cat. He was amazing. And sure enough, they found, that was so funny. They found the chip that he was somebody else's, and then they called the people, and they're like, yeah, we got your cat. And they're like, oh, great. Oh, the kids thought the cat was dead. They're like, but here's the deal. The cat's going to lose his leg. It's going to cost this. They're like, well, the kids already think it's dead. So we took it. And unfortunately, he got sick, and it was really fast over a couple days, and he was supposed to go see doctors today. But I appreciate you all you texting in. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Speaking of that, it is the holidays. I'm working with an amazing organization, Wounded Paw Project. They are incredible. And you guys know it's not easy time of year, especially for some veterans and their families. Difficult to look around, see everyone happy, everyone enjoying all of what the holidays are offering. But when you're a veteran, you face struggles, especially returning from war. Veterans of all ages from all wars need to know that we are supporting them, giving them unwavering support. We're there for them. And what a better way to do that than to donate to Wounded Paw Project. It's incredible. They've combined their love of dogs and their dedication to finding ways to help veterans. And that's why they created Wounded Paw Project. It's an amazing organization that unites and connects our furry best friends with our nation's heroes. They rescue dogs and take them from shelter dogs to service dogs. And what it does for both the dog and the family of the person that gets it is amazing. It really is. An easy way to join is through the giving of a vehicle, right? It's the gift. It's easy. Proceeds are used to protect, advocate, and transform shelter dogs into service dogs for veterans, first responders, and their family. And if you want to learn more about donating and helping out, it's simple. You can call them directly to 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729. Or you can go to woundedpawproject.org. You can take action, get an amazing tax-deductible gift. They also take cash. You can go to woundedpawproject.org, but you can turn your truck, your RV, even a boat into a vehicle for change. You're going to be saving a paw to save a life. Check it out for yourself. woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
Let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
I believe in you, Elsa. It's the third week on top for Frozen 2. Another $34.6 million brings its 3-week domestic gross to just shy of $337.6 million, $920 million globally.
I suspect foul play.
Knives Out holds second for a second week, another $14 million there.
We're heading into dangerous territory.
Only $660,000 for the debut of the animated Playmobil the movie starring Daniel Radcliffe, bombing in 14th place.
I have no idea what that movie is. It feels like a movie they did like 4 years ago, and then they never got it released because something happened. And on Playmobil, I'm like, isn't that for like children, like kids, toddlers? So 8 movies crossed the $1 billion mark this year as soon as Frozen, which will do it probably in the next few days. 8 movies, 6 of them were Disney movies. 6. This is insane. They apparently are fine with what they're doing. Well, I just think it's not really good cinema. Well, I think it's okay. I think they're okay with the profit because it costs a lot of money to do a lot of the stuff that they're doing. Like, they're not an art house film. Like, you want to, like, don't take Disney your art house movie. They're like, I don't think this is, no. That's not Disney. Disney's big. It's popcorn. It's expensive. It's a lot of money. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Would you like to?
As part of its so-called Work-Life Choice Challenge, Microsoft Japan closed its offices all 5 Fridays in August, but paid its employees for a full 40-hour week. Managers reported a nearly 40% rise in productivity compared with August 2018. Previous experiments with a 32-hour work week found people more energized after a 3-day weekend and feeling compelled to get more done during their 4 days on the job.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you could easily do this. And I know a lot of people that work these kind of shifts. Some people are nurses and firemen and other people who work in regular offices. And that's one of the perks, right? Where they're not getting the same amount of money, or they're saying, look, you know what? Instead of certain things like they get a day off here or a day off there, and they kind of rotate it where there's always somebody in the office. But it's not every Friday, like everybody gets Friday off. It's one of those things where half of you get like a Monday off, the other half get a Friday off, so somebody's always there. And it tends to work. And some of them it's 10-hour shifts, and some of them, but you look, if they came to you today and said, your work, and said, look, would you be willing to work 10-hour shifts to have a Friday and a Monday or a Monday off? You'd say, hell yeah. Absolutely. And it's good for your psyche. And so much of what people do anyways, remember Office Space, the TPS report? So much of it is mindless. That's the beauty of, as terrified as some people are about the coming future of robots and all the things, some of the things they're going to allow us to do is to have more free time for other things and take away some of those mindless things. And let me ask you guys this. How much, if you were to focus singularly on your job with no outside anything, right? No Facebook or Instagram or any of that stuff. No chatting with your neighbors. It was just a boom. You got 30 minutes for lunch, 15-minute breaks, couple of them, and you just focus. Like, how much could you get done? Probably a ton. The reason we work 5 days is because we kind of take a day off here and there during the work week anyways. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. They have finally put to bed the hearings. I don't know what, we're getting out of this in the hearing world. Quite frankly, I think we know exactly what we were in for. I think today was one of those things where you go, why? Right? You had the people that were the counsel for the Democrats and the Republicans last week who were asking us a lot of the questions. Now, on the other side, answering questions and delivering, I don't know what anybody got out of this thing. But here we go. We're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And Eric Swalwell said we got to get this done fast because we have an election coming up. So we'll see how fast it goes. I think we could see a vote by the end of this week. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
They don't care about what actually was in the transcript. They don't actually care what happened. And we heard last week from witnesses, they don't even care that the aid was released. They're simply looking at the facts to make it fit their narrative.
Yeah, it's over finally. Pelosi's meeting with the Democrats tonight. They want to try to get this thing done. I predict within 72 hours at the latest, they will have everything drawn up. Now the debate is with the Democrats, and that is, do they want to go wide? Right? Or do they want to stay narrow and focused? Do they want to go and throw everything at it? Right? Go back and revisit Mueller and some of the other things. Or do they just want to stay on this and see what happens? If they can change anybody's mind. Today was another one of those days where, see, last couple weeks, there was at least, the first week with Schiff and everybody, that was a little bit more drama, right? So you had more of the popcorn. We can eat some of it. You got people up there, and these aren't people that are used to being in front of the cameras. The second week, the second hearings were very much like an art house movie, nuance and certain things. Today was one of those things where you're like, why did they do this again? And that's kind of what it was. And it was back to being more about the people that are asking the questions and to have their minutes where they can say something with a zinger than the people answering them. And the people answering them were the counsel from the last 2 weeks who were asking questions to the witnesses and the people involved in all of this stuff. But today it was another one of those things where you have a chance to battle back and forth, and that's exactly what everybody did.
Are you going to go on record in front of everybody here today and say that you will not tell who ordered this, you or Mr. Goldman? Mr. Goldman, you or Mr. Schiff?
I am going to go on record and tell you that I'm not going to reveal how we conducted this investigation.
And that's the problem we have with this entire thing. Mr. Schiff sat behind closed doors.
I can tell you what the importance is.
I'm done with you for right now.
So Goldman was one of the attorneys who is one of the counsel from the Democrat attorneys who was asking questions. On the other side, you had Stephen Castro, who was answering questions today. And each one of them got 30 minutes to go and read and their opening statement, fire off some stuff. And Mr. Castro fired off some stuff on how he felt about this.
To impeach a president who 63 million people voted for over 8 lines in a call transcript is baloney.
Baloney, he said. Baloney. It's not just about that. At the end of the day, though, what matters isn't what they think, isn't what the Senate thinks. I mean, because what you're seeing now is you're seeing moderates who are Democrats, who are worried about losing, show some hesitation in jumping full feet into this because they're worried that they're going to lose their seats. And so, I mean, what really matters is what do the people think?
There is no thought, even an outside chance, really, of Republicans joining into this impeachment push. Therefore, it's not really a consideration about how you make this bipartisan. I feel like Democrats have essentially given up on that concept because they recognize that public opinion just isn't moving the way they would have hoped and wanted it to.
Yeah. That's the reality of it, is public opinion. In fact, public opinion's at the point where we are not even paying attention anymore, right? Like, there was a lot of excitement, at least for the first kind of let's just take a look. I'm curious, right? Ooh, there's a two-headed person over there. I'm curious. And then all of a sudden you're like, and now you're at the, I don't even care, right? Like, we get excited because it's something new, because we've heard them all talk. Now we're going to put, a voice and a face to these people and hear what they have to say. But now it just feels like you're rehashing it over and over again. So at this moment in time, it is what it is. They're going to meet tonight, and over the next, I would say, 48 to 72 hours, they're going to roll out something. And what that will be, I couldn't tell you, because they are having internal strife with what should they do? How many articles should there be? Should the Mueller investigation, should there be some other things in there? Or should it be 2 things here that you can just be completely this is it. We're hyper-focused, obsessed, and laser beam-like attention focused on these? Or is it going to be, we're going to get the Mullions clause. We're going to get him over here with Mueller. We're going to give him obstruction of justice here. We're going to get him over here with this thing. We're going to give him this. And then we're going to throw everything out there. And then people are going to, the fear is that so many people are going to step back and say, I just feel like you guys are reaching. Like, that's what you're going back to things. So we could have a vote by Thursday or Friday. My belief is it'll be Friday. And the next week you have, are we going to have another continuing resolution? Keep the government, moving along? Or are we going to, we have a Thursday night debate next week on the 19th. I think they want to get this stuff done and dusted, and then they go on their break and come back and get ready for the new year, which will be, impeachment fun.
The president's hand-picked FBI director, Christopher Wray, saying there was no deep state.
As far as you know, based on the findings in the Inspector General report, is the FBI, was it part of some deep state?
Well, I think that's the kind of label that is a disservice to the 37,000 men and women who work at the FBI. That's not a term I would ever use to describe our workforce, and I think it's an affront to them.
The president's defenders have accused FBI agents of conspiring against him.
Yeah, and so the DOJ and the IG report, this all comes out today. What is it? And it's nothing, right? Both sides kind of got a little bit of something that they wanted. Right. It definitely wasn't the left saying, there was nothing here that was biased. But the right's also saying, but there was a lot of stuff in here that's really anybody, whether you're right or left, should have some kind of like, whoa, hold on a second moments here. This still feels a little ugly. Trump came out and said,
it is incredible. Far worse than I would have ever thought possible. And it's an embarrassment to our country. It's dishonest.
I don't know about that. I don't know if it's embarrassment and dishonest, but there was definitely some stuff out there. The left is saying
this report conclusively debunks the baseless conspiracy
that the investigation into Mr. Trump's campaign and its ties to Russia originated with political bias.
But look, it's fair enough. I mean, to ask a question, and I think we should ask the question of, you guys looked into a campaign that was against the other party, if you will, because the party in power was Obama. And in saying that, you had your Secretary of State, who was then running to be President of the United States, also in your party, to say that some stuff may not have gotten back. I mean, if this was Trump doing this to the next person who was running, let's say he was going 8 years and they thought something, people would be freaking out. So, and to me, it's still the FISA. How did some of these warrants get there? Who's looking at some of these things? These FISA warrants where people are going in essentially in this room saying, I need a warrant, I need a warrant. And it doesn't seem to be like they're saying no. There's some real questions that can be asked about some of this stuff. At the end of the day, both of them get to come out and say, we won. And the other side gets to come out and say, no, we won, when nobody really won in this. None. Trump's base will considerably as big, I think, as what was out there. And I know people say, no, that's not true. It's half the size. It's not. It's not. It's not what you – it's so funny that people still doubt that anybody supports him. Well, when you call everybody racist and awful human beings, there's a reason that people are running around shouting from them, hey, support the guy. I think his base is still pretty strong. They're not going anywhere. And they look at this and say, ha, he won. And the other side, well, the other side is going, we won too, because they had every right to do what they did, because there was worry that they were all hooking up. But then, of course, the Mueller report said, no, that really wasn't happening. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text me as well. Love hearing from all of you. So, Christmas. You're looking around. You're saying to yourself, got to get some stuff. Right? Still need to do some stuff. There's time. MyPillow. Now, MyPillow's awesome. They've got all the amazing things out there. But now they got towels. Towels are amazing. And as you get older, like, when you're like 20 and somebody gives you a towel, like whatever. But then you get older, you're like, towels are amazing. And these are incredible. Brand new soft bath towels, like super soft. Absorbent, boom. Sucks up the water. Feel and look so luxurious. 5 different designer colors. 30 by 56, so you got the big towel right there. 16 by 30, and they got hand towels as well. So you got the hand towels, the washcloths, everything made in the USA, 100% cotton, and you will feel the difference in these. And the great thing is the best cotton around, right? The best. So there's no fillers or cheap softeners, and you get a 60-day money-back guarantee. It really is incredible. So you're going to love these things, and now is the chance to get them because they're giving to you 30% off. 30% off. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the new radio listener specials. Get 30% off these incredible towels, and check out all the other stuff they have. Enter promo code Benson when you do. So MyPillow.com, right there. New radio listener specials. Enter promo code Benson and start saving, or call 800-983-4975. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here. Just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? I'm laughing. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is hilarious. One of the lawyers showed up today. He brought one of those like reusable bags. The guy, I guess, speaking on the Republicans' behalf, Mr. Castro, he brought one of those bags. He brought snacks. I hope he brought enough for everyone. It's kind of funny. But he's like, why didn't he bring a briefcase? Apparently he didn't have to. All right? That's kind of funny, though. So let's check it out. What's trending? Stephen Castor brings papers to impeachment hearing. I was telling producer Phil, man, that's a long time to sit there all day and get a couple breaks. Like, what do you have to go to the bathroom? Do we get snacks? I like snacks. What about snacks? Are we provided snacks? Do I got to bring my own snacks? I mean, what's the rules of this? See what else. New Zealand volcano today killed 5 so far, 8 still missing, maybe more, on White Island after an excursion that people took from one of the cruise ships there. Ghostbusters Afterlife is trending big time. It's the first trailer for the new movie. Actually looks entertaining. That's trending. Kirk Douglas turns 103 today. And the IG report is also trending big time. And Steven Strasberg, you guys don't know who he is? Producer Phil, you know who he is. He helped win a World Series for your Nationals.
He's getting himself a little bit of money.
A little bit of money. Now, he opted out of his contract. He had 4 years left. I think he had $100 million left on it. People are like, I can't believe he's giving up that money. Well, he signed a 7-year deal for $245 million. Now, just to let you guys know, that's a lot of money. That's a raise of $10 million a year. It's a $35 million. This is the way I predict. He's going to have a couple good years. A lot of these contracts go this way. You have a few good years, but usually by the end of the contract, you're starting to realize, okay, we got way too much money invested in a guy who isn't giving us all. Plus, he's had some injuries. So the fact that they're doing this, but he had a huge year and he got a World Series. So I think this is payback. Here you go. Thanks so much. Go over to Google. Everything right now is kind of about the what took place in D.C. today. The excitement that was this amazing. It really wasn't amazing at all. This amazing. I just don't even know what to call these things anymore. Like I watch them, and it looks like you have to ask yourself. You think some of them are sitting there and they're because I saw they would show like a wide shot, and you'd see some of them texting. You're like, who are they texting? Like, this is so boring. What are you doing? It's probably the person on the other side of the room. I'm sitting here listening to this stuff with you. Oh, my God, this is awful. Let's play Word with Friends or whatever the kids are playing nowadays. What else is trending in this world? I like this. All right? I do. I like this. Nike logo. So the Nike is going to be producing uniforms for Major League Baseball. And people are pissed off about it because the swoosh is on the uniform. And it's hilarious. They're like, baseball fans, the Nike logo on jerseys ruins the tradition. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's all over the world. I mean, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you should be able to get something for it. I don't even know who makes most of these uniforms anymore. Right? But now Nike's going to do it. Nike's trying to get there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. The other thing that's trending that should make you laugh is Walmart's doing Walmart things.
Walmart says it is sorry for the Christmas sweater it was selling online that read "Let It Snow" and showed Santa sitting in front of 3 white lines and a pile of little white balls. The online description read, "The best snow comes straight from South America, and Santa really likes to savor the moment when he gets his hands on some quality grade A Colombian snow." Walmart says the sweater was sold online in Canada by a third-party vendor. Walmart saying the sweater does not represent Walmart's values.
Yeah. Did you know, Phil, that's what Santa likes to do? He likes to savor his moments.
I wonder how he got around the world so fast.
The grade A1 Colombian. Pablo, you've been good this year. Tell you what makes me laugh about that whole thing is everything. And if you see him, it's like Jack Skellington and Mr. Hanky from South Park had a baby, and that's who South Park's would have had. And it is hilarious. You can check it out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Jobs, economy. In the end, I still think it's Trump's biggest and bestest friend, could be his worst enemies. Job numbers were fantastic. Joining us now from bankrate.com, Mr. Mark Hamrick. And those numbers, they beat the street, if you will, as far as expectations.
Sure, and I think more important than that, and good to be with you again, thanks for having me. I think more important than that is that, we can think back to essentially around Christmas Eve last year when the stock market was careening sharply lower, and the main thing that was happening there was a fear of a recession. And lo and behold, the Federal Reserve backed off its inclination to raise interest rates 2 to 4 times out as it was then forecasting, and did just the opposite, cut rates 3 times this year. And so the economy has had the benefit of some lower interest rates. That can't fix everything, as Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve himself will say, but I do think it's helped some aspects of the economy. And so here we are looking a little prettier with respect to the economy going into 2020 here.
So let's look back at 2019. 2019 seemed to be, for all intents and purposes, not the evil that some thought it was going to be, not the careening, crashing, the waiting for the recession. What we went a full decade without a recession. I believe that's one of the first times in our history we have gone a full decade with no recession. And looking into 2020, I don't think we're going to be seeing one at least next year.
It doesn't look like it right now, to be sure, and we'll hope that we can continue to forestall that. And, of course, one of the reasons why the Fed has moved interest rates lower is, of course, saying that it hopes to prolong the expansion. So there's no reason that can't continue. I do think that for all of us, whether we're investors, perhaps investing in 401ks or exchange-traded funds, ETFs for retirement, that's the way that most people have exposure to the stock market, or obviously we're all dependent on a growing economy as just participants in the economy, if you will. It's in our best interest for the expansion to continue. But having said that, Chad, it is worth noting that obviously some areas of the country are performing much better than others. Some areas have never participated in the expansion per se. And so this is one reason why we sit where we are these days with this very much polarized political climate, is because not everybody has a universally positive experience, and that would never be the case, even in the best of times.
No, not really. Talking to Mark Hamrick from bankrate.com. And there are some parts of the country that are still doing well. Obviously, the big cities and the rural areas are still struggling. But, it's interesting because I look around and I say to myself, in the world that we live in now, I don't know why, especially with the expense of living in large cities, why aren't companies expanding in certain areas? Because you can be virtually anywhere now. And there are ways of going about doing things where we can expand across the country and have other places start to feel some of the love that, quite frankly, they've never really recovered at all.
Right. And, I grew up in the Midwest, and that's the case of where I'm from and where my wife's from, as it turns out, and where my parents are from in Appalachia. But to your point, actually, I do think that we are seeing some of these sort of medium-sized or not the largest cities doing fairly well for the very reason you say there. And so, among those that are growing the most are the likes of Charlotte, North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, sort of mid-sized cities because, they do have pretty good labor forces in those areas and well-qualified candidates for jobs. Very often it's people who are in technology and healthcare in those locations as well as banking. And so, you're right that you can telework just about anywhere, and that doesn't work for every kind of job. Obviously, you can't telework if you're a waiter, right? But to the degree that companies can use that as an option, and of course some of them use those options to source those jobs overseas as well.
Talking to Bankrate's one and only deep voice radio guru, Mark Hamrick here as we talk about the economy. So 2019, what surprised you this past year in the economy when you look back and you say, I didn't see that coming, or, what went to as planned?
Sure. Well, I think, first of all, you'd have to say the performance of the stock market is right at the top of the list, because we do all kinds of surveys at Bankrate of regular, everyday Americans as well as so-called experts. And one of the surveys that I manage is called our Market Maven survey, basically investment professionals. And for the recent past, they basically have been looking for mid-single-digit gains in the stock market, and here we basically had a 20% gain in the major averages this year. So that's number one. And, of course, again, you can trace that back to the support of our nation's central bank, among other reasons. So that's probably the top surprise. And I think also the fact that we've been able to muddle through with 2% growth this year, despite the fears that we had coming into the year. So those are two positive outcomes. And I do think, to the point earlier, no reason why the expansion can't continue through 2020 and maybe even to 2021 and beyond.
Yeah, as we move into 2020, what do you expect? What do you guys sense? Because you guys put everything there. You got your data, the whole 9 yards. In the end, this is still, especially a business that you work in, where you're trying to forecast where we're headed, because that's kind of what you guys do. And you look at the data, and as we head into it, there's no reason why we can't expand, or continue this expansion, if you will, or at least hold steady. What are you guys feeling? What's the data pointing at in 2020?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'll point to one of our surveys that we published last week, and that's our quarterly economist survey, and folks can see that on our website, bankrate.com, or just search for it on Google, your favorite search engine. And the expectation there is that we'll keep the unemployment rate in a solid range, going no higher in terms of the consensus forecast of 3.9%. So we were at 3.5 with the report we just got last week. So that's pretty good. But job growth should wane a little bit because of the perception that the market is pretty tight as it is. And in a slow growth economy that we seem to have right now, there's also just not that much more demand for workers unless something picks up. And so it's interesting. There's a group of economists called the National Association for Business Economics, or NABE, and is pretty much the major association of economists in the country, and they just published their outlook this morning, and they said something that I've heard repeatedly, I would say for at least the last year and a half, and that is essentially that trade presents both the biggest upside risk for the economy and the biggest downside risk, because obviously we sort of have this Charlie Brown Lucy in the football situation with, do we have an agreement or don't we, on every day with what's coming out of administration officials, either we are or we aren't. And so that's, the downside risk is that it's not resolved, and the upside risk is that we have some resolution, because that's the number one issue that employers point to with respect to what feeds into their sense of uncertainty. Another part of the uncertainty equation is, of course, the ever-approaching presidential election, and that feeds into, obviously, local races as well as control of Congress in both chambers and so on and so forth. So to the degree that if the president were not reelected, for example, then, you don't know who the Democratic nominee is going to be, and you don't know what that person would try to be doing, whether they're a moderate or whether they're more left of center. But, of course, control of the Senate is key, because if, for example, someone who is not in the center, let's just say for sake of discussion, and Elizabeth Warren were elected, she would tend to be presenting more so-called progressive policies. That doesn't really matter if Mitch McConnell's still running the Senate, right? So all those things do matter, and I think business leaders, to the earlier point, just will be eager to have that question resolved so that they can have, to some degree, more certainty. But, of course, I would also say that certainty isn't necessarily a hallmark of the current administration either, to the degree that, obviously, we've had a lot of things presented by the administration that we wouldn't have expected.
We're talking to Bankrate.com's one and only Mark Hamrick as we talk about heading into 2020. Let's get a sense. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's play just some fun here. Let's say Mitch and them lose. She takes over the White House, or Bernie takes over the White House. So you got Warren or Bernie in there, and you've got the House itself is controlled by, still Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, and either it's a break even, or the reality is that the Democrats have it. What would the economy look like if they started to push through some of these things? Because as we know, one thing that the market likes is stability. Right. But I mean, could they really put a big damper in particular, something like the stock market?
Well, that remains to be seen. I mean, from a historical standpoint, the reality is I'm not advocating one way or the other, but the reality is that the market does better under Democratic administrations. That is a fact. So the question is, what kind of Democrat do you get in there? And, I will say this, just to throw a little bit of water on the rhetorical question. Most of the polling indicates that those who are Democrats favor a moderate choice with respect to the nominee, and that would seem to point to Biden number one and maybe Mayor Pete number two. But to your question, I think it would depend, first of all, on what they actually try to push through. And the other part of that is I think that there is a tendency on the part of people to sort of be more of like a hellfire and brimstone politician when they're trying to win the nomination, and then they become a little more circumspect once they are vying for the actual presidency because they realize they have to cater to the center. And that has tended to be the case historically, and that could well be the case, I think, with someone like Warren. I think Bernie might be a little bit harder to tamp down in that regard. And, but the other part is that we've done the surveys at Bankrate, and other people have as well, that point to the fact that health care is the number one issue for them. And to the degree that we have perhaps the quality of potential service in our health care industry in the United States is great. But what is also a huge problem is cost and access. And it's not just cost of the services, it's cost of health insurance, and these are things that can ultimately be ruinous for an individual if they have a catastrophic illness. So I think this is why this is the number one issue, and if indeed there were, in my mind, ultimately pointing to something that would be single payer, possibly with a private option, meaning that you don't have to give up your private insurance if you don't want, I think that probably would help to resolve that issue for the Americans who cite that as a problem. And I do know that obviously the estimates are that it could cost $20 to $30 trillion over 10 years, but it's also eating 1/5 of the economy as it is right now. So I think that, like a lot of things with the U.S., some of the current situations aren't sustainable. Another one, of course, is the lack of funding for infrastructure. And we have, as most metro areas do here in the Washington, D.C. area, plenty of major highways and bridges and so on and so forth, and some of those get tended to and some of them don't. And like health, the longer that you don't maintain some maintenance or repair of these things, the worse it's going to get. So even though it would be expensive to have the $1.5 to $2 trillion infrastructure fund that people have talked about, it's only going to get worse over time if we don't do it, and we've unfortunately probably spent a lot of money on things that have been less productive in the economy over the last 10-plus years.
Crazy. Yeah, we like spending money that's very much not really very good. We throw good money after bad money, and investing, that's not something you do. Last question. You got about 30 seconds here. Appreciate you coming on, talking to Mark Hamrick from BaitRig.com. So 2020... Are you okay? Let's grade it. You're going to give it an A, a B, a C. Where do you think this thing's going?
I think you could probably get by with a B, B minus next year. First of all, politicians generally do what they can to try to keep the economy going in an election year, no matter what party they're in. Federal Reserve has signaled that as well, and it might just be that the worst of the global economy troubles are behind us at this point as well. So I'll hope for a B, and hope maybe we'll get an A minus by the time it's all over.
As always, man, appreciate you coming on. Mark Hamrick. Check him out, Bankrate.com, all the cool and great stuff you guys on there. And I guess we'll talk to you in 2020, my man.
I look forward to it. Thanks so much. Happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays to you. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. This is the Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
We will now hear presentations of evidence from counsel to the judiciary.
Is this when we just hear staff ask questions of other staff and the members get dealt out of this whole hearing? And for the next 4 hours, you're going to try to overturn the result of an election with unelected people giving
Gentlemen will suspend.
Nadler, Matt Gaetz getting into it this morning. It's a lot of what's happening. Now you've got the people that were asking questions last week, the counsel. So the Republican and the Democrats, those lawyers are now on the other side, and they're getting asked questions. And it's the same old same. Nothing's exciting coming out of this. I mean, you know, one side says, absolutely, this is the most impeachable thing in the history of impeachable things. This is why we set this up. And the other side saying, you know what? It's much to do about nothing. At the end of the day, we know where this is going. This is one of those things where you ever go to a movie, right? So you go to a movie and you got to sit through the trailers and now ads and then something that tells you got to silence your phone and then something that tells you there's snacks out there, so don't forget your snacks. And then you get to the movie. We know, but you kind of know what's going to happen in the movie, right? Yeah. And that's kind of what we got going on right now. So there you go. Therein lies the magic of it all. So we'll go from there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Which cars lose the most value? It's very interesting. New study out about the cars that lose the most value and how fast they lose it. And man, there's some cars here to lose. Like you drive, we already know you drive it off the lot and down it goes. Right? Like, and I'm one of those things where I don't buy new cars because you know what happens, right? You buy a new car and the values just collapse really, really fast. Here we go. If you have any one of these cars, you've lost a ton of value within 5 years. And we're off. If you've got a Maserati, you're leading the way with a Quattro report. 72.2% of its value is gone within 5 years, followed by the BMW 7 Series at 71, the Nissan Leaf at 71, then the BMW i3 5 Series, 70 and 69. The Acura RLX is also crashing. These are basically, you got something spendy. These things fall apart fast as far as their value goes. The car themselves may be fine, but the values come off fast. And what they're saying is the luxury sedans make up 6 of the 10 highest depreciation in value in the cars. Mercedes, BMW, you get it. So if you've got any one of those, if you bought it used, you got a great deal. If you bought it new, 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. That's why you should do what? Get CarShield. Because, you know, there's an opportunity here to protect yourself as the just-in-case scenario. CarShield's got affordable protection plans that can save you thousands of cover repairs, including computers, GPS, electronics, and more. You got to choose your plan, right? You call them up, say, hey, I would like this. They'll get you whatever you need. You get to pick your favorite mechanic. You get 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. 1 million customers. 1 million. That's what they have helped. CarShield, they're ready to help you. And you could save today big time, 10%. All you have to do is call 800-CAR-6000, mention my code Benson, or visit carshield.com. That's carshield.com. Use that code Benson to save yourself 10%. A small deductible may apply. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. You text the program as well. Check out the Instagram or go to thechadshow.com. Grab your podcast as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The minority of this committee. Order in the room. Order in the committee room. We voted for Donald Trump, and they're doing it because they don't like it. Americans are sick of your impeachment. They're sick of the Democrat treason. We know who committed the crime, and it wasn't Trump. The committee will come to order.
So that's what QAnon sounds like if you were to put it out there. Whatever that stuff is. Somebody's escorted. We got to escort you, sir, because you're insane. So there's more hearings going on today. It's the usual stuff. Nobody get a word in edgewise. Everybody's got a point of parliamentary procedure.
We will now hear presentations of evidence from counsel to the judiciary.
Is this when we just hear staff ask questions of other staff and the members get dealt out of this whole hearing? And for the next 4 hours, you're going to try to overturn the result of an election with unelected people giving
Gentlemen will suspend.
Matt Getz and our good friend Nadler. Nothing's going on. Look, we know where this is going, and we know how this ends. I mean, that's just the reality of it. We know where it's going, how it ends. And the reality is everybody's already made up their mind. Everybody made up their mind a long time ago, and guess what? It's not changing. And that's not a good thing for the Democrats.
There is no thought, even an outside chance, really, of Republicans joining in this impeachment push. Therefore, it's not really a consideration about how you make this bipartisan. I feel like Democrats have essentially given up on that concept because they recognize that public opinion just isn't moving the way they would have hoped and wanted it to.
Yeah. No. And they were hoping that they were going to deliver so many things that were going to be so overwhelming that the average American who voted for Trump was going to go, wow, we got to get rid of this guy. But let me tell you something. And I'll tell you why. You've made fun of his base for a very long time. You have insulted his base. You have insulted Trump, which in turn they have taken to heart as because, again, we wrap ourselves in this, the red, the blue, the Trump, the this, the that, the whole 9 yards. Right? Late night comedy is all about how horrible Trump is. Remember, though, what took place last week, right? So they're all there, you know, this big meeting, the NATO meeting, and all the cool kids are making fun of him. All the cool kids are making fun of him. They're making fun of him. And I just sit there and I laugh because I'm like, that's why people voted him in, right? You've got people making fun of him. I look over at France and you guys are having massive strikes. Your economy stinks, right? Trudeau's making fun of him. Guess what? They shed about, 50,000 jobs last month. We added 266,000. That'd be us like losing, 3, 4, 500,000 jobs. Whoa, yeah. Insane, right? You guys are all making fun of him. And I get why you do it, because you guys are the cool kids. But it just makes me laugh, because the more that those things happen, the more they go, we got the guy we wanted. That's the guy we wanted. He's loud. He's obnoxious on more than a few occasions. He's uncouth. He speaks his mind. He doesn't play politics. And while you guys are all going around doing all these things and making fun of it and making fun of us, he still is playing the game to win. You guys are playing it for public opinion. And you can hate on him all you want, but guess what? He's still the president. And he's not going to be ousted in the Senate. And you'll have to beat him on stage again with whoever you choose, right? And they'll have to take him head on. And when you got a guy that's jumping in the race worth $54 billion saying, I don't think any one of these people can have any chance whatsoever, shows you how a lot of people who are in the know or have an understanding of this stuff on both sides of the aisle say it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. It is. But that's why they said we want that guy, because he's not like you. He's not sitting here playing these games. He's not like you. Does he have problems? Absolutely. Does he overreach? Does he say things that are ridiculous? Does he lie about the dumbest things in the world? Does he say stuff that's just inane? You bet your candy ass he does. And that's not going to stop, because that's exactly who he is. But the reality is people are okay with that. They're okay. They're willing to take the bad, the absurd, and even at times the crazy drama for what they think they get, which is more benefit, which is them having a voice that is unlike any they've ever had. So there you go. That's it. So the more you make fun of them, the more you say things, the more that you do things, the more they double down. The more that we see the cool kids making fun of him places. Was it Nigel Farage when he first led the the Brexit thing, I just remember when he went to the European Union the day after the thing, and he says, "Oh, I told you guys this was going to happen, and all of you laughed at me. Well, you're not laughing now." That's kind of what it is with Trump. At the end of the day, on that November night, you weren't laughing. Those were tears. And at the rate it's going and where the economy's headed, those may be tears again. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from each and every one of you. Oh, it was another one of those days. You know what I'm talking about. Nominations for TV. Once again, I didn't get nominated for anything, but neither did anybody else when it comes to regular television.
Hiya, Frank. This is Jimmy Hoffa.
The Irishman scored a lot of nominations. Best Drama, Best Director for Martin Scorsese, supporting acting nods for both Al Pacino and Joe Pesci, but left out of the mix.
Thank you.
Robert De Niro for Best Actor. For the 5th year in a row, no women were nominated for Best Director, despite Little Women's Greta Gerwig being on many people's favorites list. In the TV category, Veep didn't get any love for its final season. The critically acclaimed Netflix Central Park 5 series When They See Us, also no recognition. Game of Thrones was almost shut out, and the major broadcast networks couldn't score a single nomination.
Yeah, think about that. That's where we are now. The major, so ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox didn't get one nomination. They got nothing. They were shut out completely. That is where we're at today in the world of entertainment. Netflix, even Amazon for their new shows that were popping up, like the morning show and stuff like that, they are getting nominated. They got nothing. They got nothing. That's a wake-up call. And so if you're them, you're like, look, one thing we do have that they don't have is we could potentially have a broader audience. How do we go about doing these things differently so we can get people excited to watch our shows, right? But you're fit into a certain specific timeline, and therein lies the problem of it all, where people want to pick and choose the way that they want to view things. It's from our news to our entertainment to everything else in between. This is what they want to do. This is how they want to consume. TV shows now are being shot for, are you ready for this? For phones. Right? They're being shot in such a way that they will conform to phones and not lose any of what you would think. This is just it. I mean, Scorsese comes out, he's like, well, you shouldn't watch my show on a phone. That's the way kids consume it. That's the way a younger generation consumes it. Technology's not going anywhere. And when you look, if you wake up and you say to yourself, you run a massive organization like CBS, ABC, NBC, and you say, we got nothing. We got shut out. Think about, 5, 6, 7 years ago when Netflix was producing good movies and they were getting what? They weren't getting anything, and everybody's like, now you're at the point where you guys aren't getting anything. You're getting nothing. It's the exact opposite, and that's the way it's going to be. And if you're the television industry, you better figure out how you go about doing these things in such a way, because you could become the new newspaper industry. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Hope you had a good weekend. I had a weekend. I'll be honest with you guys. It was a tough weekend for me. My little kitty, Theodore, passed away. He got sick and didn't feel good, and he was supposed to go see the vet, and yesterday he passed away. It was tough because I love that cat. Greatest cat. He's only about 1.5 years, 2 years old, and if you guys listen to the show, he decided he was going to become our cat. Then he got wounded, and we had to have an emergency surgery because some idiots shot him and busted out his leg, and we had to take his leg off, and he was just this amazing cat. Something happened over the weekend, and I'll tell you what, it is tough. That's a big cat. We got a little dog who is just loves it. It was like best friends, and he's just walking around the house just totally depressed, looking for him everywhere. It's a weird thing when you have something like that just, was like a part of your life, and man, it was crazy. It's not one of the better weekends, I'll tell you that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Christmas time is here. I'm excited. I'm almost done with my shopping. Almost done. Got a few more things. Many of you are in the same boat. You're still picking up one or two things here. Some of you may not have even started. And this is weird because my birthday is on December 20th. I used to have this thing that I don't start shopping for Christmas until December 21st. But most of my stuff's already done. But there's still time. Still time for you. Still time for even me, because I might get some more of these. Raycons. Best music around. Needs to be heard on the best earbuds. And I look at all the earbuds out there, and I've tried them all. I have had them all the headphones you could ever dream of. And let me tell you something, Raycons, hand down, for the price, for the value, for the sound, nothing better. The E25, 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a compact design. What's that do? It gives you a nice noise-isolating fit. They're amazing. Super comfortable, very stylish, great for on-the-go listening, taking phone calls, you name it. You're going to love them. There's no stems. There's no dangling wires, none of that stuff. And again, half the price, even a third of the price of everything else that's out there, and you can save big right now. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. When you do, you're going to save yourself 15%. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
To impeach a president who 63 million people voted for over 8 lines in a call transcript is baloney.
Baloney! Mr. Castro says right there, baloney! To impeach a president, it would be baloney for that. That's the way most people feel. Stephen Castor right there. He's the witness for the Republicans or their counsel. So they all asked questions last week, and then they were all there asking more questions, and now they're the ones being asked the questions. And it is what it is. Marianne Williamson, if you don't know who she is, she's running for president on the Democratic side, but apparently she fell for a funny ha-ha because she fell for a fake story Sunday night that claimed President Trump pardoned Charles Manson, who died in 2017. She tweeted out there was something deeply sinister about Trump pardoning Charles Manson, even posthumously, she wrote to her 2.8 million Twitter followers. Dog whistles of the very worst possible kind. And like that, your Twitter should be taken away and you should be automatically taken out of any kind of race for public office. But the average person doesn't check to see if stuff is real or not. So I guess why should anybody else? I don't think anybody cares, right? I don't think anybody cares if it's real or not. Is it real? Could be real. Are you sure? I don't know. Maybe it could be. Go with it anyways. Nobody cares. It'll be gone in 10 minutes. It'll be gone in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40. It'll be gone. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Some kind words you guys tweeting at me and texting me about the passing of my cat, Threodore. I love Mr. Threodore. He was the bomb, and God rest his little furry soul.
Fluzza, that's the brand name. It's the only single-dose oral regimen approved for people 12 years of age and older, so it's one pill, ideally taken within 48 hours. It is expensive. Without any insurance coverage, it's about $150, could be as low as $30, depending on insurance. Compare that with generic Tamiflu, which could be around $50.
Yeah, so there's a new pill, supposedly, you take, and if you feel the flu, you take this pill, and apparently it is supposed to rock and roll, and people are still saying you can still get a shot.
People need to know it is absolutely not too late to get the vaccine. It takes 1 to 2 weeks to get the full protection, but again, flu season goes through April.
Yeah, so we've got still 4.5 months left here, and it is, I don't get it, but I understand why people do get it, and it's I see the benefits for some and for others. I mean, I guess, I don't know. And the myth is, people get sick. Well, that's a coincidence, right? Doesn't make you sick. Might make you lethargic for a little bit, but the reality is it's still a crapshoot when it comes to this. But when you think about how many people die from the flu, And most of them aren't people that are like, they're susceptible to certain things, and they've got usually underlying illnesses or complications that go with that. But there's still a lot of healthy people that don't take care of it. They die because, they didn't go in and see a doctor when they should have, and they tried to fight it off. Maybe they're a little bit older or a little bit younger, and you thought, well, this will just pass. But that's crazy. Again, we still have yet to get to the point where we're going to outlaw the flu. Not yet. We're there, but getting closer. Chad, you can't outlaw the flu. I'm kidding. By the way, if you guys haven't seen that volcano on White Island in New Zealand, it is frightening. But producer Phil, remind everybody what nature will do.
Nature will mess you up.
Mess you up.
One person is dead and others missing after a volcanic eruption off the coast of New Zealand. It happened around 2 o'clock local time on White Island. And early reports indicate that 20 people suffered injuries. An urgent search and rescue operation is underway, and we know that 23 people have been removed from the island that's popular among tourists.
Yeah, so they were there. They were on a cruise ship, and it was like a day excursion to this island. There's still 27 people missing. Now they confirm 5 dead, and some people are getting treated for burns. But this thing exploded, and nature will mess you up. They didn't know it was going to explode. People had no chance, and when you see the film of this thing, you realize at any given time, nature could look at you and say, I believe I've had enough of whatever it is that you're selling. Or nature says, hey, watch this. Hold my beer. I'm going to do something. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Justice Department Inspector General's report found some mistakes at the outset of the FBI's Russia investigation, though overall there's no finding the investigation started improperly. ABC News spoke exclusively with FBI Director Christopher Wray.
It's important for the American people to know that when the FBI opens an investigation, it does so with proper predication, with proper authorization, based on the law and the facts and nothing else.
The Inspector General's report is the result of almost 2 years' worth of work.
Yeah, so there was no bias there, and that's what it was. Oh, you sure there was got to be some bias and blah, 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 blah. And, of course, the conspiracy theories will fly around about the entire thing, right? Like, what's got to be this, and there's this, and what about that, and and this is the way that crazy conspiracy theories work, because too many people are out there. They've got way too much time on their hand. They get something in their mind and they start letting it go. And I mean, it's nuts, right? It is. It's crazy. Like, case in point, there's a rumor about white vans, right? Out there, that men are driving white vans, kidnapping women. And it's crazy, but this is the anatomy kind of what you do is you take a little story or something, you plug it in, you start to then give backstories like we do with everything, right? Whether it's the Peloton, a husband and wife fake team that did an ad, you start giving backstories. Next thing you know, things explode and it goes viral. And people who are already susceptible, I think it's a genetic thing, to conspiracy theories, just run with it. The funny thing is when I saw this thing trending in my white vans, I'm like, oh, did white vans, is that something now? Is that like a symbol of hate and race or something? Because I have like white vans, but not, then it was like, oh, a white van, like you drive in van, not Vans the shoes. Like that's where I went. I went to Vans the shoes. Older people and younger people, the OK boomers, the snowflakes, went to other things. My generation, Gen X, went to skateboard and van shoes. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Speaking of Russia, one thing we do know about the Russia, they're a bunch of cheaters.
This decision by the World Anti-Doping Agency is shocking, but it has to be said it's not entirely unexpected. Now, the organization has agreed unanimously to punish Moscow for what it describes as manipulating laboratory data, planting fake evidence, and for deleting files linked to the positive doping tests of Russian athletes. Now, Russians will still be able to compete at global competitions, but only under a neutral flag and with no national anthem.
Yeah, so 4 years they're banned because they're massive cheaters. We've known this. The last Olympics, they couldn't compete unless they competed as individuals under the Olympic flag, and it's going to be the same here. Because they're cheaters, right? Putin wants to win. He doesn't care how he wins, right? He doesn't care. He wants to win. And this was not one of those things where it was one off here over here or the rowers were doing it. It was a huge, massive, just massive, constructive from the top all the way down where everybody knew what was going on. That they were making sure that everything was in their favor, every little bit of edge that they could give their people to win medals, to show how superior, because sport's one of those things where it's like for our country, we love our sports, right? We do. And we're blessed to be able to watch sports on more often than not. We win a lot of things, right? Especially when it comes to the Summer Olympics, but a lot of different things too. We've got, you look at our basketball team and you start breaking things down. We're pretty blessed, right? And the amount of money we put into sports across the board is ridiculous. But we don't live and die based on our Olympics. In Europe and particular places like Russia, it's still very Soviet bloc when it comes to this, where winning is everything. And now they've been told, you guys are nothing but massive cheaters. And it was orchestrated from the top all the way down. And everybody, if you were going to be part of the team, you were going to have to pay the price. And that price would be you're going to have to cheat.
But this is really a story that starts back in 2014 and the Winter Olympics in Sochi. The Games were a prestige project for President Vladimir Putin, who wanted to project Russia's athletic superiority to the world. And it did by winning several medals. But just 2 years later, and Moscow's sporting reputation was in ruins. That's because a scientist turned whistleblower revealed a massive state-sponsored doping program. Now, the country had to show that it had changed, but today's ruling makes it very clear that it hasn't. Now, Russia's anti-doping agency has 21 days to appeal this ban.
Yeah. So what's going to happen? Simple. Nothing. There's not a lot they can do. They can appeal it all they want, but this is systematic, top-down, absolute cheating. Cheating across the board. Because it's about victory, it's about winning, and it's about because you bring home that medal, you do whatever. That's prestige as far as they're concerned. Showing the world, kind of like Hitler-esque when Hitler wanted to show the world. Look, you come to Berlin. We're going to the Olympics. It's going to be the greatest thing in the history of the world. Look at all this stuff. Look how superior we are. Only to find out, no matter how much you try to do what you do, people are going to find out eventually. And nowadays they do, and they deserve it because they're cheaters, right? They cheat. Does everybody try to get a leg over? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people do. Right? You look at somebody like Lance Armstrong. Although Lance Armstrong was in the dirtiest sport in the history of sports. Go back and just look at some of the results in the Tour de France. You're at the 28th person. It's like, you cheated too? All right, there. How about the guy that was riding the bike that was filming you guys? He wasn't participating, but we found out he's only on weed. So maybe we'll give it to him. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. It is never ending. I don't know how many meetings they're going to have this week, hearings. I'm sure there's going to be tons of them this week, both inside and out. We're looking at potentially a vote. They're saying maybe by the end of the week.
President Trump's persistent and continuing effort to coerce a foreign country to help him cheat to win an election is a clear and present danger to our free and fair elections and to our national security.
Yep. That's what the one side has their people up saying stuff, right? That's Daniel Goldman. Then you've also got Barry Burke.
President Nixon famously said, if the president does it, it is not illegal. And this body rejected that because that's not so. That goes directly contrary to what the founder said. But President Trump has said the same thing.
And he, again, for the left side of the aisle, the right side of the aisle, Stephen Castor.
The Democrats' hyperbole and histrionics are no good reason, 11 months out from an election, to prevent the American people from deciding on their own who is going to be their next president.
So that's where we are. Everybody's already made up their mind. You've made up your mind. You've made up your mind. That person over there has made up their mind. And the people that haven't made up their mind don't really care at this point. Right? The people who are like, that's kind of the way it feels. You guys don't really care. Yeah. No. Because whether you care or not, and it's funny when I talk to people, it's like, I don't really care. I was talking to a friend of mine over the weekend. We were DM back and forth on Facebook, and he's like, I don't really care. It's not because I don't care. It's just because why get invested in something when the outcome is pretty much already foretold, if you will? So why would I want to get deep into something that we know is going to end up in a certain way? And I get that. And I don't know, if we have a vote this week, then, Mitch will probably decide next week. And remember, they still have a CR that they have to get sorted out, right? Money runs out on the 20th, and they'll probably kick that down there. They're going on vacation, recess, whatever they want to call it, for the winter holidays, winter break. And by the time they get all this stuff said and done, you have to ask yourself, okay, so what are you guys going to do about it early January? Are you going to do it mid-January? Are we going to get a timeline of this? Are we going to go 6 days a week like you guys are talking? Is it going to be short? Because the reality for all of this stuff, Mitch McConnell could have a vote immediately to dismiss charges. And that's something he could do. And at the same time, he could make it just go and go and go and go and go. We'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from all of you. With all that being said, kids, it ain't over when it comes to Donald Trump and, yes, lawsuits.
In its filing, just unsealed, Amazon claims it did not win the bid for a $10 billion Department of Defense cloud computing contract called Jedi because of repeated public and behind-the-scenes attacks by President Trump against Amazon and its founder Jeff Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post. Amazon claims President Trump's repeated comments about the company and Bezos led the Pentagon to choose a bid from Microsoft that Amazon argues had clear failures when it came to Jedi's technical requirements.
Yeah. It's weird in a situation. So you have two massive corporations battling over something. And you've got somebody who's got a true dislike for Trump. And somebody who I'm sure is not a fan of Trump, but at the same time, I mean, they're all bidding for something. It's not like he gave it to like Steve's, Hack and Shack down the street. That's, they fix computers and at the same time they play video games and they've got a couple servers in the back. It's a massive corporation. So I'm sure if you would have given it to them, would have Microsoft have sued as well? Well, I don't know. Maybe. It's a no-win situation here. I think you're always going to get sued at this. Well, their stuff wasn't as good as our stuff. Listen, you guys got enough problem with your white vans going around kidnapping people. Maybe, not really. What should we start? We should start something, Phil. We should start some sort of conspiracy theory. We got to make it good, though. I just don't know what it would be.
As long as you can figure out how to monetize it.
That's exactly. It's got to be monetized. That's the way you win, is conspiracy theories, InfoWar stuff, right? I don't even know what you guys are talking about, InfoWars. Right now, I'm telling you, no. Don't do it. I did it. No. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. All right. Amex, fastest growing over 50 organization in the country. Incredible benefits, retail, restaurant, hotel discounts. Help you out with Medicare. But on top of that, their benefits don't just go with what you get and what you can benefit from. right? And in your everyday life, they're also fighting for things like common sense immigration reform, Social Security and Medicare, for example. They're going there and saying, look, you guys have bad policies. And one of those big bad policies is you guys are not fixing the fact that we are going to insolvency in many of these programs. And that's going to affect people, especially people over the age of 50, and many people out there who've paid into Social Security for a lot of their lives. And you're looking at this thing hurtling towards insolvency. What are you going to do? We're going to join AMAC. It's free. It's 1 year. It's on me. All you have to do is go to amac.us/chat or call 888-355-1617. That's 888-355-1617. Great, again, benefit packages, all kinds of things that they're doing for you and how they're fighting for you. It's 1 year. It's free. It's on me. It's amac.us/Chad. amac.us/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
I believe in you, Elsa. It's the third week on top for Frozen 2. Another $34.6 million brings its 3-week domestic gross to just shy of $337.6 million, $920 million globally.
I suspect foul play.
Knives Out holds second for a second week, another $14 million there.
We're heading into dangerous territory.
Only $660,000 for the debut of the animated Playmobil the movie starring Daniel Radcliffe, bombing in 14th place.
This weekend, a lot of stuff's opening up, including Richard Jewell. And if you guys don't remember the story of who Richard Jewell was, it was this kind of, it was just this guy working in Atlanta at the Olympic Games, just kind of security guy, bigger character, mustache. And he ended up finding a bomb, alerting, the powers that be, saved a lot of lives, but he became the target of everybody's suspicion, and they went after him. And this movie's coming out because it's, directed by Clint Eastwood, but a lot of people are saying, well, hold on a second. You're going after the media. Clint's painting them an unfair light on them. Now, the Atlanta, let's see here. So there's several. So there's several media outlets, by the way, who had to settle with him. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution is asking Warner Brothers and the makers of Richard Jewell to release a statement acknowledging it took dramatic license when it portrayed journalist Kathy Scruggs as trading sex for tips. Ooh. Now, they went after him hardcore, Richard Jewell, and a lot of them had to settle. CNN, Cox, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a couple colleges. There were a ton of people that had to apologize, pay him money, because at the end of the day, it was Eric Rudolph who bombed a couple abortion clinics, shots. I mean, this guy was the dude, and then he was hiding up in the mountains for a while before they finally caught this guy. But by then, the damage was done with Richard Jewell, destroyed his life. He never fully recovered, and he eventually passed away, as did Kathy Scruggs. But it was a story where this was one of the first times where media was 24/7, and the judgment was so quick, so harsh, so fast, and the destruction of somebody who saved lives came, boom, and this guy was the bad guy. And it was shown where the media took something and decided, we don't care if we're right or wrong, let's just get there first. And if we can paint a picture a certain way, we will. And they did, because it was about eyeballs and selling newspapers. Newspapers at the time, kids, were still around, relevant. 96, the internet really was nothing. So it was a big thing. It was an ugly thing. It really was. And I'm interested to see it. This looks really, really, really interesting to see. It's interesting, though, for as good as I've heard all these reports about it, he's getting snubbed from everything, Clint Eastwood and stuff, because I think a lot of it has to do with his politics. I do. I think a lot of it still has to do with his politics.
You probably don't recognize the name or the face, but anyone who ever watched Sesame Street knew the beloved characters Carol Spinney played on the children's program.
I'm Big Bird. Nice to meet you.
Spinney also played the trash-loving Oscar the Grouch.
Oscar, go away. Close my can.
Carol Spinney retired from Sesame Street in 2018. In 2006, he was honored with a Daytime Emmy Lifetime Achievement Award.
I'm one of the luckiest birds in the world.
Yeah, it is. He passed away, 85. And if you've not seen the documentary is just, it's amazing about him and his life and Big Bird and the whole 9 years and how many people, like, playing these characters touched, and it's incredible. But what a ride, man. 85, you pass away, but you played two iconic characters that will be forever loved, and in many people's childhood, even still to this day, is out there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program as well. Love hearing from all of you. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show.